Welcome to Yoga with Nazareth. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to share with you a really special breathing exercise that can help minimize and manage your pain that you experience from vulvodynia. But before we get started, I recommend picking a clear space in your home, one that's fairly quiet. Have a blanket handy and have a pillow handy, and we'll begin. Some of you might actually wonder why breathing will help pelvic floor pain, or what does it have to do with the pain that you're experiencing within your vulva? So before we begin, I think it's really important to just clarify a few things and give you a brief lesson on anatomy. The diaphragm is a thin muscle that attaches at the base of the rib cage, and it separates the thoracic cavity or the upper chest from the abdominal cavity. Because of its position and size, it really is one of the most efficient breathing muscles within the body. And when you inhale, the pelvic floor actually expands and presses down on the pelvic floor. And then as you exhale, it naturally retracts and recoils, creating a slight contraction on the pelvic floor. And it might help to go even a step further and envision your diaphragm. It's kind of like a dome-like shape. Our pelvic floor resides between the pubic bone and the tailbone, as well as both sits bones. So there's those 4 points creating somewhat of a diamond-like shape. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind before we start breathing. If you have pelvic floor pain from vulvodynia, most likely your muscles are in a hypertonic state, or they're constantly contracted. And this becomes a problem because it impedes on the function of the muscles as well as the blood vessels and nerves that are within your pelvic floor. The breath not only creates that expansion or stretching or lengthening of the pelvic floor, it also increases blood flow. This is something we definitely want for a healthy pelvic floor. That was a very basic lesson. Like I said, I could dive deeper into that, but it doesn't really pertain to you guys. You just want to know, how the heck can I not feel pain in my vulva? So I'll show you how. One other thing I want to mention, make sure you're in comfortable clothing. Please don't wear something that is creating any friction or irritation on the vulva. You want that area to be free, so to speak. So we're going to lie back. You want your neck and your head to be supported by the pillow, and your knees are going to be bent. The reason I suggest a blanket is you just want to be on a soft surface. Ideally, we're looking to create comfort and relaxation in the body. Now, some of you might feel a little strain keeping the legs upright, so you can walk your feet slightly wider than the hips. Let your knees come into touch, and this will just act as an anchor as well as create internal rotation of your femur, your thigh bone. That can also release a little pressure on the pelvis. So once you're lying here, you're going to take a moment and observe your body. I'll recommend that we close our eyes, and I want you to think of taking inventory. So notice as you lie here, where is there already tension present within your body, particularly in the pelvic floor? So let's think of those 4 bony parts. We're going to think of the space between the pubic bone and the tailbone, and then the space in between both the left and right sits bone. How does that area feel to you? And know that there really isn't a right or wrong answer. We just want to be conscious and aware of tension that we're already creating. Now, let's get into the breathing exercise. I want you to take both hands, rest one on your chest, and run on the low belly, maybe just beneath the navel. Let your arms relax and take a few breaths. And what you may notice is the hand on top of the chest moving up and down. Maybe even the hand on the low belly is moving up and down. So for most of us, we can have pretty shallow breathing, and it'll look something like this. So if you can see, the hand on my chest is rising and not much is happening in the low belly. What we want to work towards is keeping the hand on the chest as still as possible and filling the palm with breath that is laying on the low belly. So we're going to aim to keep the chest still. Let all the breath out. We're going to inhale through the nose. Fill the breath in the low belly. Feel it rise. And then exhale. And the hand in the belly will naturally descend. It's a little challenging for me to talk and do this at the same time. So I'm going to walk you through it again, and then I'll let you watch me do it so you can get an idea of how it looks and feels within the body. So again, the hands are resting, one on the chest, one on the belly. This is just serving as feedback. We're going to breathe in through the nose, keeping the chest nice and still. The low belly expands and rises. We imagine the pelvic floor, the area between those bony parts, expanding and relaxing. And then as we exhale, belly comes to the floor. So it's going to sound a little bit like this. We're going to breathe in through the nose. And then exhale through the mouth. Again. We're going to breathe in. Breath reaches the belly. We're going to exhale. So I want you to continue with that, keeping the chest relatively still. Don't force or push the abdominals into the palm. It's the breath that is creating that lift and expansion. When you get to the top of the breath, notice, is there still a little bit of holding in the pelvic floor? Can you let those muscles go? And as you exhale, relax even further. Continue with this breathing. Keep in mind that it's going to take some practice to get used to this, especially if most of your breath enters and exits in the chest. But little by little, you'll start to build this awareness and realize how much tension is being held in the pelvic floor. And ideally, we would stay here for about 8 to 10 breaths, eventually working up to maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to invite you to stay in this position. I, however, am going to sit up, and keep in mind that this is an exercise you can do throughout your day. So maybe when you're driving and you're stuck in traffic, you could practice this deep belly breathing. When you're at work, maybe if you're having a difficult interaction with someone, notice, do you hold tension in the pelvic floor? And this is such a great way, again, to increase the blood flow to the muscles within the pelvic floor, which in turn will decrease pain in the vulva. And it also is such a soothing and relaxing technique just to sort of nurture yourself in this time of healing. And you can certainly practice this in child's pose or legs up the wall. Those are two great poses to facilitate relaxation and really practice this breath. I will link the videos up in the corner here. Overall, just remember to relax, take some deep breaths, practice this, be patient with yourself. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And of course, be sure to like this video, share it with other women that perhaps could benefit from these tips, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Be compassionate even in your time of healing. Keep practicing, and I'll see you soon.